How about this for commitment? It is 5 o'clock in the morning and there is just me, myself and I. That's right, you heard it. Just me, myself and I. 5 o'clock in the morning. I must be mad. However, I just love fishing. The tide tonight, we haven't got the best of tides at the moment, but I can't see myself sitting in for a week or so waiting for those big tides to build up. I just want to be out here and fishing it. So the fishing can be poor on poor tides. So when the tide is at its lowest. But me, 5 o'clock in the morning, I fancy my chances, especially after this storm that we've had, or supposed to have, which was hardly a storm, but it's created a bit of a stir out there. So I thought, you know what? Let's have a couple of hours this morning, early bells, and chuck a few rigs out. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do. So I'll show you my rigs now, and then we'll get straight to it. We'll give it 2 hours, have a little chuck, see what I can wingle out on this wall. So the first bait, which is ready to go out on the Yuki tonight, is the ever faithful ragworm. Now this is on a 2-hook flapper from Bluefin, but I thought, right, we'll have a little scratch about tonight with that one. As we've all said, worm baits can produce the big fish. And on the other rod, I thought I'll keep it simple for a change. We're on a pulley pennel, quite a short one, but I'm going straight squid. How's it going to be with me? I'm in my favourite spot next to this lamppost, straight out. Just a light chuck at first, let's get used to it. Not after that last video. Just a light chuck, eh? But not that light above me. Quick check on the prom, make sure no one's around you, as I always say, and we'll get it out. Just a little chuck is all you need. Just want to be testing that line, make sure there's no weak points. I have stripped about 10 meters of line off it or so it does feel nice after the other day. Because the problem with that Menai video, when I was casting out, my rig was coming round to the right, and after reviewing the footage, what I can see is there's a bit of a bank. So when I was casting straight out, what was happening is my lead was coming round and lying on the back side of the bank, which was resulting in the snag. As soon as I was lifted into it, it was catching on the bank, and obviously the Menai has quite large rocks and features and stuff, so yeah, it made my line a little bit brittle. So yeah, that's why I've stripped a bit of line off it to make sure it's all right. Always check your line. The other thing I'll say as well, shock leaders. Now I do use shock leaders, and I go through a fair bit of shock leaders because I do fish rough ground venues. So at the moment, I haven't got any. I need to stock up. But little chucks like that, I'm all right, as long as you check your line. Now that's 18-pound ASSO bulletproof, which I use there. So yeah, it's up to scratch, as long as you check your line, like I said from the other day, with it being so abrasive in the Menai. Yeah, there must have been weak points in it, and it was a 7-ounce lead with that big bait, so. Right, that one's out on the squid. Let's get the Yuki out then, on the ragworm. So like I say, it's gonna be a little bit different tonight with casting ability, so I'm gonna have to switch it around a bit as I go. So I'll have to walk down here to the right a bit, a gap in the cars to cast out. But yeah, I'm quite fancy a fish tonight, whether it be whiting or those things which I'm hunting for, which I'm not gonna say. But the fishing with the tide, I don't know. But I'm here, I'm giving it a go. Right, let's go for it. Ragworm. What you gotta pull out for me? So yeah, I've got a little bit of a break between these two cars. Well, this line of cars down here. There's quite a few here tonight. Must be some sort of event or something going on, or a good night out possibly. I don't know. Anyway, let's go. There's another favourite spot just to the second hut. Cast towards there. Right, quick check of the prom. I'm gonna wait. Now what I like to do straight away is hold that lead up high, or my line up high. I don't like my line sitting or bowing in the water, and there's reasons for that. Like I said, your line can trap underneath rocks and boulders and this, that and the other, and you know, it can do a lot of damage to your line. So if you can keep your line up like that, out the way, that's better. Well, there we go. What I am going to do though is switch head torches. And I'll tell you my reasons now. So this Army Tech which I've got, which I personally think is fantastic, it is quite pricey, but it's doing me all right. As long as you've got a few spare batteries, you'll be all right. But that lasts me a good, say, 3 hours, 4 hours maybe, on the lowest setting. Now there is 2 settings on it. There's a brighter one which gives you 3 lights, and then there's a lower setting which also gives you 3 lights, and that's what I have that on. However, this clue light I've got on my head, yeah, I look like a minion, and I've actually always slated these. Not so slated, but I just think that we look a bit funky with a big light on the top of our head. But when fishing this type of venue and you're high up and you just want to get a spot on that water to see what's going on, these are absolutely brilliant. I mean, I don't know if you can make it out. See, there's the pier there, boom, it lights it up straight away. But that would pretty much go right to the end of the pier. But when you are fishing high up like this and you want to get visual on your fish or whatever's going on down there, then a spot beam is perfect for it. Whereas my other light is ideal as a spread beam. So if I'm fishing, say, a beach, or I'm low down and I want a nice field of light around me, then spread beams are really good. But I do really like these clue lights, even though I look like a minion. All right, I'm just going to show you quickly how I tie my pulley pennels when fishing this type of venue. Now, because it is so snaggy and you do tend to lose a lot of gear, I like to keep it simple. So I've got minimal components. So straight away, got a thing called a bent Gemini clip there. That's what holds my bait. So what I do is I tie that on there first, because I've got quite thick line. I just do a blood knot, but make sure I go back through for a bit of extra strength. Give it a good pull down, that's not slipping. Just snip my tag end off into the side tray there. So these rigs can vary in length depending on the situation, but I normally like to do an arm's length like that. So it's about 3 foot, 2.5 foot, 3 foot. So what we do is we snip that off there. That's £60, that one is. And then what I like to do is put a big bead on, if I can see you in the dark, which I can't, yet I can. So I put a big bead on first, and what that bead does is just protect that bottom knot. And then I use a pulley bead. So I'll put that on first. Now what I have started to do recently is on the top one now, before it meets your swivel, what I like to do is put, say, 5 beads. Now there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is I think it kicks your bait out that extra little bit more. out at the top from the top swivel, which I'll show you shortly. But I'll say put 4 or 5 beads on. Not too many. Like so. So I've got a line of beads out at the top. Now this is just something I've started to do recently, and I've seen a difference in the rig tangling. So next, I need a nice strong swivel. I've got a nice strong swivel there, so we'll put that on. They are so easy to tie, these rigs, but yet so effective. So I've got my main part, my rig body there. Next, I'll tie straight onto that swivel. Now this is your hook snood. You can have little clips, which can allow you to change your hook snood at any point. But let's go straight to a swivel. No messing about. Same again, I'm pulling super tight on that, and that's not slipping. Always moisten your knots though, that's what I'll say. And then what I like to do, so my lead's down there, and you've just got to keep it a couple of inches shorter than the bottom. And there's a reason for that, and that is it sits nice into the bait clip. It keeps a bit of tension on it. That's it, I'm nearly done. Find myself a hook, which I prepared earlier. That's a meat hook there. For any bigger baits, I got a smaller hook for the top. Yes, he has. So this is a pennel style setup. What I do is I feed the top pennel on first, but through the front of the eye on the hook, so that can wrap around and sit the right way. And then I'll get the bottom one, which is my meat hook, and I'll tie that, and that is pretty much the rig ready to rock and roll. Like that. See, I'm pulling again there now, and that is not slipping. And there we go. As easy as that, a pulley pennel. Now they are not hard to tie at all. There is different ways people can tie them, use different components. But when fishing over snaggier grounds, I think that if I'm losing gear, then I want minimal tackle. And that is spot on. And there we go. Like I say, it's so easy to tie. And there's minimal tackle in these. And what I was saying about the bait clip at the bottom there, it just sits into there like that. So during the cast, when you cast out, that rig is staying streamlined like that. And then as soon as it hits the water, the rig comes out, ejects, and that's how you're fishing, like that. So the bait is just on the bottom. But that is my go-to rig. Now I appreciate some of you do know how to tie them. This is for people that don't. And another advantage of this rig is checking the rods. I don't expect much to happen, but yeah. Say if I was to hit a fish out there, my line's on that pulley bead, what happens is you keep steady pressure, the lead comes up like that, the fish is down here out the way now, and my line is going straight to my rod tip there. The moment you let a bit of slack into that rod tip, the lead drops, and now that's swinging in all the snags, which can result in you losing fish. So that is the pulley pennel, and is ideal for fishing venues like this or any snaggy venues. And it's actually literally my go-to rig. Right, we go again. Oh, I need a fish. I need a fish. But yeah, I'm happy that one didn't snag anyway. That's always a plus when it doesn't snag like that here. So again, check the prom, make sure there's no one walking around, and send it out. And mind that hook. if you are casting towards the pier, just be mindful that there's a security guard that walks past out of an evening and you don't want to hit him on the head, do you? So if you're not quite capable of casting, or you don't think you're a bit nervous about casting that way, then just cast straight out, stay clear of it. So you don't want to hit anyone on the head on the pier now, do you? Right. That one's on with rag. What's going on with this one? It is probably due a bait change. What bait I use, I don't know. Right, let's get it out then. That squid and bluey wrap. In fact, I'm going to stand here just because I've got that lamppost above me and I don't want to hit it. And we're clear. Let's go for it. Oh dear, it's happened again. But rest assured, I've got a plan. I think I've had my first fish possibly on the Yuki. It's been on a little tapper. Let's have a look. Could have a fish on here, guys. Could have a fish on. He has, he's got a fish on, guys. He's got a fish on. Hey, what's he got here? The smallest of fish. But he's got himself a fishy. Get in. Well, it's not a blank anyway. We've got a little pecker. Only a tiny little pecker, but yeah, we got ourselves a pecker. Get in. That'll do. I haven't blanked. Well, you've probably seen I've got like a beam of light coming through me. Well, this big light has just randomly decided to turn on. What a nightmare. But you'll just have to try and deal with it for now, guys. Beam me up, Scotty. Beam me up. Right. Let's bait this Yuki back up. I'm happy I caught a pecker. I'm off the mark now, aren't I? But I don't want the peckers. I'm here for something better than them. But that's the disadvantage of winter fishing, isn't it? There's just so many peckers in town, which is why I like to split it up a little bit and always cover that bigger bait on a bigger rod. Now, like I always say, and people have said recently, that the big fish do come on the worms as well, which they do. But with this coastline at the moment, there's just so many peckers about. So it's like, the only way you can sort of get away from a pecker is by having a little bit bigger of a bait and a bigger hook. Even though they will still hammer that, and sometimes they ended up hooking themselves in the gills and this, that and the other. Sometimes you just can't get away from them, can you? But at the end of the day, they are still fish. Right, both rods out, ready to go. Well, I might as well be honest with you. Now, I am one to show everything on this channel, right? Recently, I've had a couple of crack-offs. So, I've tied myself on some shock leader. Now, it's not tapered shock leader. It is what I use for my rigs. 60 pound straight through. And I've just tied one on there and it cast out a dream, and it's not tapered. Now, for some reason, I had in my head, you've got to have tapered shock leader. I'm admitting it here. Would a normal shock leader do? Let me know in the comments. Like I say, shock leaders are newish to me. I have fished a lot without them. Sometimes I have got heavier lines, but on that one reel in particular, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'd stripped a lot of line because that Menai has literally beaten that line up. So that will be getting stripped later on. So I am one to admit my mistakes and yeah, show it you how it is. So yeah, I've got shock leader on it anyway, but it's not tapered. But let me know. It's probably a stupid question because in theory it's fine. But let me know if you can actually use just normal shock leader. The answer is probably yes. In my head, it is yes. I think just the taper just helps it fly out better, but that cast a dream of that then. But yeah, moral of the story is, after you fish the Menai, or all the time now, from now on, chuck some shock leader on. Like I say, I'm one to admit my mistakes, and if my mistakes can help others, then there you go. Right, stop chatting crap now, Michael. I've got about an hour or so left to get something decent up this wall because I've got to go to football later on with my little lad. So yeah, an hour to go. Can I do a conger or something a little bit bigger other than a pecker? However, like I said earlier on though, the tides ain't the best at the moment and it is winter. But I'm out here, I'm fishing, I'm cracking off, I'm having a laugh, and most importantly, I'm enjoying myself. Do you know what? Even though I've had one little pecker, being here now as that sun's rising like that, the seagulls are about, all the bird life's coming out, and that scenery which I've got in front of me, that's what it's all about. It's so soothing just being out here by the water. Very, very soothing. Like I say, it's not all about catching fish, is it? It's just about being here and enjoying it and watching the sun come up. Good for the mind. Absolutely stunning. What I best do though is bring the smaller rod in and rebait it, because I've probably got half an hour's left of fishing before I have to go. We are coming up to high water as well, so it might turn on the ebb for a little bit. It might do well. But yeah, it's just about being here and enjoying it. So yeah, let's bring it in and see what's going on with that ragworm. See if it's been pecked off. There we go, out the snags. It's not actually too snaggy, especially with these smaller tides. Here you've still got a good depth of water out in front of you. And when it's on your doorstep, this opportunity is not to be missed. And I'm glad I brought that in, because that ragworm has completely gone. Just beautiful. Come on then. I'm going to try and cast towards the pier because I can see it a little bit now, just near the stanchions. Check the prom behind me, make sure no one's about. Beautiful, right on the money that. Right on the money. in the fish highway, I call it, because the tide comes racing through that pier by the stanchions there. When it starts to ebb, likewise flood. But just look at it. Beautiful. Well, that sun's coming up pretty quick now. Let's pull the purveil in and chuck some silver darling at the sea, which is herring. Oh, I feel heavy, that does. Well, very strange that coming in. What's that? Have I got a fish on out there? That's very strange coming in. Have I got a fish? No. That was strange coming in, that was then. Looks like there's a fish on it then. But there isn't. Oh, there you go. That's the answer to that. There was a massive, and I mean massive, ball of crabs. Look at that. Well, he's going to be a fighter, isn't he, this one? But yeah, he's had a good old feast of me squid there. Look at the shell on that. And the little pinches on him. There's a big ball of crab that was coming in. Let's get him back in. I thought, oh, why is it coming in so weird? And I looked out there and there was just crabs just starting to come off the bait as I was bringing it in, but yeah. So far, a pecker and a crab. Well then, there's not much been happening at all, but I've just been having a chat with a lad about things, and yeah, it's nice to have a chat sometimes. This rod did have a little knock briefly, but other than that, not much is happening. Same again, it could be to do with the daylight. So that is it. Done. There he goes, my mate. You'll know who you are because you'll be watching this. Just speaking to a lad then about the sport, about fishing in general, about life in general. Do you know what us fishermen do? We all have a chat and, you know, get to know each other, and that's the way it should be, isn't it? You know, be kind to one another and get along with one another, because we've only got a short time on this big round ball of the rock that we all spin on. So be kind to each other, enjoy your fishing, and just get out there like what I've done today. 4 o'clock in the morning. It's now about 8:30, and I am feeling relaxed, calm, and enjoying the beautiful scenery. Oh, I'm going to be careful, there's a swivel on it. And if I've learned anything from this video again, or from this session, it would be, and I've said it quite a lot of time in the video, it's not about the fish you catch at all. It's about just being out here, because it's good for the mind, and it's also good feeding these crabs and the peckers. There we go. That was the only snag I've had right at the end of the session, so I'll take that. It would be nice if I got it back, but it is what it is. Oh, got it back. There we go. Nice strong rig and the shock leader. Distracted what I was saying to myself then. But yeah, that's it, innit? That's fishing. You don't have to catch them all, do you? You don't have to catch them all, guys. At least I got my shock leader back and my battered rig from the crabs. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this one. And I hope you've picked up some pointers from this one. It's not all about catching fish, is it? If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all on the next one. Ta-ra for now.